It's Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundbar Review, talking with Kelly Eco, beat writer of the Houston Rockets for The Athletic. Once again, as always, man, thanks for taking time to do this. How you doing?
Yes, sir, Chris. I'm doing good. Long summer. Feels like it flew by. And now, another trip around the sun. I'm getting ready for another season of basketball. Hopefully, it's going to be better than last season, because we were
Well, yeah,
COVID
let's get right
restrictions
into
and
it, man. Yeah. I mean, it's time to grind, back on the grind once again. Rockets Media Day is on the 27th and training camp the 28th in Galveston. Will you be in Galveston?
yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there, Galveston for part of the week. But mainly, I'm looking forward to just kind of being around the team again.
Yeah.
Last season was kind of a struggle trying to get adapted, and everything happened on the fly, and with all the restrictions, and then putting us through all this stuff, trying to cover games. While I appreciate the efforts that the league did and everything, it was still pretty hard for us to kind of adjust to everything Zoom and hands off and everything, because a lot of our jobs is close proximity to these
Yeah.
guys, and you get kind of used to that being around them every day, and it was a struggle. But I'm looking forward to hopefully a little easier movement.
What do you expect? I think the time we talked this summer, your overall goal, first I want to give you props because during that talk, two of the names you mentioned the Rockets could be looking at draft-wise were Alperen Sengun and Usman Garuba. Well, you got that right. So, props to you for that. You do your job well. So I've known you for a while and I know you put in the grind to get things done. First, record-wise, what do you expect the team, how many wins you predict? And then we'll go down, line up, rookies.
Okay, so let's start from the record. I think, and this is health, notwithstanding, I think a healthy Rockets team can give you 27. I think 27 is okay. It's a young team. 17 wins was kind of ridiculous, but they went through an astronomical amount of injuries,
Right.
to the point where they were just signing guys off the street. If you had a pulse, you were playing in the game that night. That's kind of what it felt like. But now, you bring in a lot more younger guys. You're going to be expected to develop those guys too, as well as the guys you had last season: Jae'Sean Tate, Kenyon Martin Jr., even Christian Wood to an extent. Um, you still have to develop those guys while developing the star of the franchise now, Jalen Green. Now you have a talented big man, Alperen Sengun. Josh Christopher is going to be a project, and Usman Group is also going to be a project. So, you know, I think for this season alone, you could be looking at 25 to 27 wins. Now, expectation wise from the rookies, I do expect Jalen Green to maybe start a bit bumpy because he's very small. He's going to be introduced to guys much bigger than him. This is not the summer league. He did play very well in the summer league, but the Western Conference is a whole different battle. You're coming
Right.
up against dogs every night. John Morant, those cats. Russell Westbrook, who's not going to back down. They're going to give it to you straight. But I do expect him to come along as the season goes along. You could say the same for Josh Christopher, who did surprise a lot of people. Coming into this draft, there were questions about his defense, and that's kind of been his calling card ever since the combine started. Up until now, his defense.
Right.
Everyone knows he's a gamer, but his defensive intensity really impressed Rockets coaches and the players on the team as well. And they expect him to have an aggressive camp, trying to earn precious minutes in that rotation. For the coaching staff, I expect Steven Sauce and them to be better. They went through a lot to themselves, going from a team they expected to coach, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, to where they are now is a bit of a shock. But they did pretty well for the circumstances. Now going into year two, there are going to be more eyes on you, seeing where could you improve, because it'd be dumb to say the coaching staff was without blame. You won 17 games in the year, so obviously you need to do something better. So we'll see what adjustments they made. Steven Silas is a great guy. He's a player's coach. They love playing for him. He preaches freedom and stuff, offensive simplicity at the same time as being versatile and giving different branches and stuff like that, different ball handlers, points of attack, everything like that. So I think this season is going to be one of growth. I think this is going to be the first official year of the rebuild now, because you've had the draft, you've had the offseason in place, you're going to have the training camp. Now this is going to be the building blocks for your future. everything that happens from this point on, you're going to be judged. Point blank period. If you're going to call last season a mulligan because of everything that went on, this is going to be your your ground zero. So how are you going to adjust from here, from year to year? I'm not saying that you're going to be expecting to make the playoffs this year or next season, but there needs to be a plan in place. There needs to be something tangible where fans can look at and say, okay, there's something that you can look forward to on a nightly basis, even though you're not trying to win a championship right now. You want to be developing those young guys. You want to be expanding their skill sets and putting them in different situations. If they have to go to the G League for reps, send them to the G League. So I think the season is wide open because everyone starts from 0-0. But teams obviously know where they stand in the NBA ecosystem. So I think we'll see that as the season develops, you're going to see the Rockets kind of take on more of those layers and trying to add to what they already have.
Do you see a plan? Do you believe a plan is in place for the team?
I think so. I think when you look at the offseason, the kind of thing that the Rockets had, they're taking 4 rookies you've never seen. I don't think that's ever been done before on a draft night. But you're seeing where the direction is. They're going younger. They're going, youthful. They're going versatile. They have a future with Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green as a backcourt. It's left to be decided if Christian Wood is the big man of the future. But even if he isn't, they still have Alperen Sengun who you can develop. You have Jae'Sean and Kenyon Martin Jr., 2 versatile, skilled wings that can switch everything. So there is a plan. I mean, I think when you look at this team in 4 to 5 years, if everything goes according to plan, you could see a very skilled Rockets team. And then that's before you even add, any free agents or any stars that are on the market, disgruntled stars that want to, potentially join a new franchise. So the biggest thing that the Rockets need, that they should be looking at is how to make this team enticing and attractive again to free agents. When people look around the league for new homes, new opportunities, they're going to be looking at, where can you enjoy your playtime? And if you have an exciting backcourt in Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, that can excite some guys that want to take their talents elsewhere and see what everyone loves Houston for different reasons.
Right.
But it could be a good place to kind of play a trade if everything goes right. So I think from now till whenever you start to see the kind of plan that Stephen Silas has for those guys.
You touched on it briefly, so let's get into a little bit more. Do you see Christian Wood being part of the future 3-4 years from now?
You mean like 4 years from now?
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
I think some fans be surprised to hear you say that. Why you say that?
It's not even it's just from a purely financial perspective. He's going to be looking to get a max contract whenever his current deal is up. I don't think the Rockets are in a position right now where they should be giving max contracts out.
Okay.
Also, I'm not even sure if he fits the bill of that max player yet. He's a great player, but max player is something different that you have to attach your name to as a franchise. And go back to this summer. One of the points that the coaching staff tried to use to motivate him was, Team USA, whenever Bradley Beal goes down, they're looking for a big man to pick up, and they take JaVale McGee over.
Yeah.
And you just came off a 20-10 season. That says something. If you want to be that guy or if you want to be that max player, other teams need to see that as well. It's not just you aren't just playing for the Houston Rockets. You're playing for like Team USA. You're playing for that coaching staff, that pool of applicants. Team USA, your rivals. They see everything. They play you on a day-to-day basis, so they see what goes on in the season. And if they're going to lean JaVale McGee over you, with all due respect, JaVale McGee should not be getting picked over Christian Wood for the basketball tournament. So I think, and from that perspective, they want him to kind of hunker in for the second season. He got his numbers, but it has to contribute to winning.
Exactly.
He complained a lot last season about not getting the ball as much, not having players call for him, and that's the way the game is going. If your name is not Joel Embiid, if your name is not Nikola Jokic, they're still not calling plays for you. You have to get away you can, pick and pops, pick and rolls, run the transition. You'll get your shots and stuff like that if you just play your role. What you can't do is pout and complain, publicly, about your involvement in the offense. Is not going to get you anywhere. So I think this season is going to be a lot for him. needs to show that he wants to be a leader. And he's also said publicly that he is, the star of the team or whatever. Like, that happened a lot last season with him, John Wall,
Right.
Kevin Porter. Yeah, you got three guys saying that they're the face of it. And now you bring in an actual face of the franchise in Jalen Green. So it's going to be a lot because you got to think about it. It's an ego thing, too. He's a $45 million man, and he has to come to terms with the fact that he's not the face of the franchise. It's the 19-year-old kid. How is he going to adjust to that? It can be a lot for some people. So off the court, too, is going to be another thing aside from on the court in terms of the mentality, the approach to the game, the work ethic, everything. So it's going to be a big year for Christian Wood. Now, if he shows that he is that guy, then by all means, Rockets would be happy to give him, the money he's looking for. But he has to show that. That's what I think.
And he had to show it consistently, not just for a week.
Yeah, not just for a week. Not just for a week. He needs to come. And like I said, who knows at this point if the Rockets even want to go down that route with him. But I'm just saying, to make it better for him and easier for him, you put yourself in position to get that kind of money first. You have to put in the work. So training camp is a great place to start. The season is an even better place to show it. So it's going to be a big year for him.
Would it help him to make an all-star team, an all-NBA team?
Yeah. He was on the cusp last season, just off his pure counting stats before he got hurt. The injury kind of derailed his little approach. But I don't think the Rockets gonna have any All-Stars because they're not gonna be top of the Western Conference.
They're not gonna win a lot of games. Yeah,
we've seen too many years in the past. They're not picking good stats on bad teams. It just doesn't happen. You have to be. I can't even say you have to be over the top because they're just not gonna pick you. There are too many other better big men in the West that will be picked. It's just, and it's not a slight against you. It's just you're in a Western Conference. This is a battle of the behemoths. You're up against a lot of dogs. So
yeah.
I don't think it's tied to him. But if he did get picked, that would make his case easier. I'm pretty sure there's some stipulation in his contract that gives him, that can give him some kind of bonus or something for All-Star appearances. Like I said, it's gonna be hard, but it's not impossible.
What do you see for Josh Christopher as long as Eric Gordon is on this team in terms of minutes consistently?
I think when you think about Josh Christopher, he's a gamer. Somebody that I've heard that a lot from players. He's a gamer. The biggest thing for him, can he put that consistently on a game-to-game basis? How do you ensure he gets because he needs reps, period. Now, do you want to send him to the G League to get, kind of like the Kevin Porter thing? That was the initial plan for him.
Right.
At the draft night, get him some reps. Get some minutes under his belt, some games, and kind of get used to the flow of things, and then going back and forth to see how he does. With Eric Gordon, there it makes it kind of difficult because the Rockets do love Eric. They do love Eric Gordon. And they want him to play, and if he's healthy, he's going to play. But any minutes that he gets is minutes that Christopher and the other guys don't get. So because they're essentially the same position.
Right.
So the Rockets kind of have to decide what they want to do. Are they trying to win games right now? Or are they trying to develop? If you're trying to develop, then you play Christopher and you find a new home for Eric Gordon. If you're trying to win, then obviously play Eric Gordon and let Josh Christopher play G League or kind of get the minutes where he can. But it's hard to say right now.
Yeah, I'll add to that. What sense are you getting from the organization? Are they trying to win? Because, I'm with you. I got 21 and 25 wins for the team. You got 25-27 this year. That's okay with me because of the plan long term. If they're trying to win games and get around that play-in vibe, that doesn't help the team long term, in my opinion. What are you hearing from the organization?
Right. The worst thing you can do right now is try and jump steps.
Yeah.
It may be appeasing for a day or two or a little short term, but in the long term you're hurting the whole franchise because you're just rushing things. There's no need to rush. You're not winning it tomorrow. You're not winning the day after. Have you seen the NBA right now?
Yeah.
Brooklyn, Milwaukee, not even Philly, Miami, Lakers, like there's mad teams ahead of you right now. So it's not the NBA goes in cycles. Like 3 years ago, no one was saying Brooklyn, you know, like the names that come in cycles. So you just have to wait your turn. You already had your cycle. You didn't get it done, but it'll come again. It's not you'll never get back to the playoffs. You just don't need to rush it. You don't need to go there tomorrow. So don't skip steps.
What do you expect from Alperen Sengun this year? A consistent role? Do you see him? I think Garuba will spend more time in G League than Sengun, but how much time do you think Sengun will get consistently?
11 minutes a game, maybe. I could see 11. It really depends on what they do with Tice. If they start Tice, this makes it easier for him to play off the bench. If not, it's a bit more difficult because we know that the Rockets want to go small. That's why they signed Daniel Tice to play that, versatile hybrid where he can be a center, he can be a four, a bigger four. He's more of a natural center, a small ball center. But the Rockets like to have options. But the same way that any minutes for Gordon takes away Christopher, any minutes for Tice takes away from Sengun. It's just how it is. So if you're not making that mark in training camp, you're gonna have to settle in for the third big in the rotation. Honestly, on the depth chart, that's just how it is. So, do you want to send him to the G League to get more games like similar to Christopher and them, or do you want to just keep him around the first team? It's tough to say right now. But I think I could see him at most getting 12 to 13 minutes a game.
And what do you like about his game?
I think he's smart. I think he's real smart. I was talking to one player previously, the offseason. Actually, two players. One compared him to Nene, just from the IQ, the way he handles the game. He's not athletic as a Nene. Oh, it was Eric Gordon that said that. He's not as athletic, but smart-wise. He can pass the ball. He sees the court. He's a tough player. He's not afraid. And he's just savvy. And he played against pros his whole life.
Right.
Overseas. And that's underrated. A lot of times we talk about overseas leagues being inferior and not being as competitive as here in the States, but those 16, 17-year-olds are playing against grown men night in and night out. That's going to make you better naturally, whatever way you want to slice it. And that's why you saw him in the summer league, like he belonged. Like he didn't want to back down from anybody. He wasn't afraid of the challenge, and he can't speak much English, but basketball is does not require. It's a game that spans all languages. It doesn't matter where you're from. So he surely belongs in the NBA. And he, obviously you have to get better defensively in terms of strength and the lateral quickness. But I think he did pretty good. For his first stint of NBA action, he did pretty good for the summer league.
I read some of your write-ups this week. You mentioned in one of them, and I guess the scrimmages, that Anthony Lamb was part of the winning, foursome? Threesome, foursome, whatever. He's part of it. Just add to that, man, because, I deal with vibes from fans, Rocket Twitter. Anthony Lamb is a bum. Anthony Lamb, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of add to what Anthony Lamb does well and what he provides the team.
If he's not making his shots, he's not playing. So he's there to space the floor. He's there to knock down shots. He's okay. He's okay in transition. He's underrated with the ball in his hands. But ultimately, he's there to make shots, catch and shoot threes. And the reason why they were successful with that foursome is because he was hitting his open shots. Obviously, House, Green, and Sengun can handle the ball. They can play make off each other. But Lamb has to be that release valve. He needs to be able to finish plays, with threes and whatever. So if he can hit shots, he might not play up much this year, but I would have called him a bum. It's kind of a stretch. He's still playing in the NBA. Don't get it twisted. I think fans oftentimes get short-sighted because you see certain guys comparing to other guys, and that's going to make you judge them accordingly. But he can play. He just needs to hit his shots consistently.
What is the plan for Matthew Hurt?
I'm not sure this time. I think it's possible whenever you hear about the Rockets waiving somebody, they always have a plan in the back pocket. They could bring back at some point. It may be just a camp thing, a camp casualty. Um, but I think Hurt's a good player. He surprised me in the summer league for sure. I didn't know he was that defensively sound. I will tell you that. So I do think he might get another opportunity. I'm not sure, or as of this moment, because like I said, you do go into camp with 20 max guys, and you have to cut it
Right.
to 15. I think right now they're 7. Oh, yeah, it should be at 17 right now. So I like him, but they have more pressing needs, if that makes sense, heading into camp than Matthew Hurt.
Armoni Brooks. What's his?
I like Brooks a lot. I think he has a chance to make this team. I do. I don't think the Rockets should be. I've said this all last season. They should not be turning their nose at shooters. He's a sniper. They should not be. They're in no position to be saying we don't need shooters. He may be a bit undersized, and he's in a position where they have a lot of guards, but don't cut him from the roster. Just keep him around. He's good enough to play in the NBA. He's impressed them all summer. That's why he stuck around even when he wasn't, his future wasn't solidified. They still wanted him around because they believe in him that much. And he's a gamer. He can shoot. Like there's a reason why he broke Damian Lillard's rookie record for three. Like he can shoot. Like just it's kind of weird because the position he's playing has already been filled. Green, Porter Jr. You have guys that are already going to play big minutes. I'm not sure where he fits into that rotation, but I do think he's deserving of a roster spot. I'll tell you that much.
Were you surprised that the Rockets did not sign Armoni to a two-way deal initially?
Yeah, I was. I thought that he was going to get that for sure. But I think him not being available at the beginning of summer league kind of did him no favors. That was essentially going to be your best audition, even though it's kind of weird, for the Rockets, but you still have to audition for your spot. I do think that had he played the entire summer league, it might be a different conversation than signing Exhibit 10. But it can be converted to a two-way at any time. So I still think there's enough flexibility in that structure to get something done if it ever comes to that.
Could a final spot come down to Brooks or Kyrie Thomas?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Thomas is a better defender,
right?
For sure. Bigger body. He can score. He's a scorer. But he's not a better shooter than Brooks. And I think if it came down to those two, I think Brooks has the edge, I think, when it comes to that, because you do need specialists on the roster. You do. Like, Kyrie Thomas is a good NBA. He's an NBA player for sure, but there are guys like him on the roster that are, bigger, better.
I mean, 3-point shooters, it's Eric Gordon and House and then Brooks.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
You kind of shouldn't be letting those kind of talents go. So yeah, I think from that perspective alone, I think I would give it to Brooks.
DJ Augustine, do you see right now Eric Gordon being the first guard off the bench, or do you see Eric Gordon starting? Wow. So it'd be kind of small with, regard basically.
Yes, he has done in the past. But like I said before, it depends on what Houston wants to do. If you go Porter Green, Gordon, House or Tate, and then Wood, I mean, you could have a number of combinations at that three, honestly. But Gordon is a good shot. He should. I mean, if it's going to come down to this, what kind of option does Steven Silas want to come off the bench? Does he want instant firepower? If so, then you leave Gordon where he is. Does he want multiple ball handlers on the floor at the same time? Or how about Jae'Sean Tate? Do you want Tater? I think the real question is Tater House.
Okay.
But Gordon too, because it's interesting because they don't have a really natural three, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Natural three. And the game isn't moving away from that anyway. I think they should try it. I mean, if he's healthy, why not? We need shooters on the floor. Um, Kevin Porter, he's a streaky shooter. Jalen Green is a shooter. Christian Wood can shoot. And then it comes down to, I think they have options. I think this year, the biggest thing that we're even talking about is them having options. You couldn't say this last season. It was what they had or bust. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
All right, man. I'm going to ask you, what is going to happen with John Wall? I mean, we know he's not going to play for the Rockets this year, but really, what do you see happening?
I think he's just got to sit and wait. He's got to sit on his butt and be patient. That's too much money. It's too much money to try and make his value be any more than what it is. As a 20-7 guy coming off a long-term injury, but he has shown that he can provide help to a winning team, but it's just the injuries are just too much. From that perspective, when you put in the money, it's almost $100 million compared to a guy in his 30s. It's a lot. You have to be guaranteed of what you're getting out of him, and you have to be in a spot where you're not going to lose much if it doesn't work out. The list of NBA teams is not that long in that. Having to mortgage your future or something. So I think for John, this is going to have to be patient. I do think the Ben Simmons thing can speed things up in terms of other teams kind of seeing where they stand in terms of point guard help, because teams are not just going to offer you point guards at the door. That's one thing I'll put in his favor. The list of teams that are willing to do business with starting level point guards is very low. But I think he's going to have to be patient and wait.
Wait, how long? We're talking December, February, the off season.
I think it's gone by February. I think you start to see more clarity of NBA teams by December and January when teams want to make that push. I think you're going to start to see more activity around that time. But that's just my hunch. I just think that he just has to see how the NBA season shakes out initially, and then because those calls will come, but you just have to see, because injuries will happen. You never know. A need will pop up here tomorrow that you don't even know of right now. So you just have to stay ready.
And what would the Rockets want in return for John Wall?
So there are two routes to go with this that Houston could go. Do you want to bring in more young players? You can, but how many guys do you want to develop at once? It's kind of, at some point, it gets redundant. I think you want to get more guys with the DJ Augustin mall, guys you can still to build those guys' characters, because everyone's not going to. For every John Wall, there's a DJ Augustin. For every guy that's looking to win now, there's a guy that's comfortable being a mentor. So there are guys out there. You just have to go find them, and I think that's who they would be looking at. A veteran that can come in, stabilize the locker room, and bring that community voice and presence.
But would that be a trade? Rockets get Wall for picks and that
I think so.
Stabilizing veteran?
Yeah, I think it end up being a multi-team. I think so. I think that's the best route. So in the end, they get something out, because they gave up Wall for Westbrook.
Right.
So if you do a buyout, you just did a thing for nothing, and you gave up Westbrook for Paul. So it's like you gotta always go back to the opportunity cost of those deals. Essentially what you didn't, you know what I'm saying? So when you draw that trade tree all the way back to Chris Paul, when you look at John Wall now, you have to get something for him. So I don't think a buyout should be discussed right now unless there just are no trade offers on the table. That's the only way I would do that.
Then for Eric Gordon, how long do you see him being here? The whole season? February,
No,
December?
I think Eric will be gone. Definitely, because his market is better. Even though same age around, but much
better
less
contract.
Money, much less money. It's a manageable contract. He's not a scrub. Like he can give you 20 points a game on 37% shooting, healthy, and still be a two-way guy. That's value. You pay for that, and $18 million per year. The third year is not even guaranteed, so it's like you're essentially paying for $236. If you're turning that down, if you're turning your nose at that, I would hope you're in a position to do so. So I think his market is much easier to manage than John. So I think he'll be gone. He might be gone before John.
House. How about Danuel House? last year of his deal?
Tricky. With House, I think House and the other veterans are just trying to see where they stand with the Rockets in terms of what they're trying to do. Their House is 28, so you could say he doesn't fit the timeline, but he's not NBA 28. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
NBA experience wise, he's more on the 25 side, like in terms of years, games, full seasons under NBA. So this age is kind of deceptive. So I do think with House, I think he'll be here. I think Houston loves him a lot. But this is a big year for him too. It's a contract year. That's to prove it. I remember in the bubble they were talking about him getting paid. Remember, and everyone knows what happened from there. But I think this is a good year for him to kind of bounce back after the injury. A lot of people don't know exactly what he went through, but it was a pretty bad injury. But all right. I do think that this would be a big year for Danuel House. I have a big profile on him coming soon, so you should be on the lookout for that.
Overall, league-wise, what's your take of the Ben Simmons situation?
Nuts. It's nuts. It's not going to be good for the league. It's not at all. It's not going to be good for the league. You just got to set up, like, we've seen this too many times of players taking things into their own hands and refusing to come to camp. You know what I'm saying? And when you come to the CBA with those owners, you have to think of who you're negotiating with. You're negotiating with the guys that are cutting your checks, essentially. The owners are not going to be seeing this thing and be thinking, I want to be giving these guys $200 million if they're going to do this to you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to think it from both sides. I do understand that Ben. I do understand Ben know the team kind of threw him under the bus and they kind of left him out to dry. But this is a business at the end of the day. Everything's not going to be, roses and sweet. You have to buckle up and do your work. You didn't come through when the team needed you, and you have to take that on the chin. The response is not to say I'm not coming to play for you guys anymore. That's weird to me. But hey, I'm not making that kind of money. So if you were to ask me from my perspective, I'm not Ben Simmons, but I do think that he's not going to come to them ever again. But wherever he ends up going to, the team has to be sure of what they're getting because he could do that to them as well.
Great point. How soon does that get done, in your opinion?
I think before the season. I think by the first preseason game, I think Ben Simmons will be gone. I do think so.
So we're looking at about a week or so.
Yeah,
week to 10 days.
I think it will be that this. It's untenable at this point. It's nuts. You can't have that as an organization over your head. You can't. You got to get rid of. You have to get that out of your system ASAP. So just for the other guys, because it's like look at Joel Embiid now. He's like, what the heck is going on? He's expecting to compete for a championship, and Ben Simmons is not showing up. You better get something good for him.
Two more things, and we'll wrap it up with the Kelly Eco. One, give me your prediction for who makes the finals.
Wow. Who's coming out the West? I think we gotta say Lakers, right? At this point, I think so. Healthy Lakers should make it out the West. They should.
Okay.
But I will not discount. If Clay comes back, hey, if Clay comes back and looks good, I might discount the Warriors out. So I'm gonna say the Lakers right now, but I could have. Warriors are my dark horse pick, but out the East, Brooklyn, they should have lost to Milwaukee. Go back and watch that series. They had them dead to rights. They had Milwaukee down in the water, and they gave them second life, and they took full advantage of it. Credit to Milwaukee, but Brooklyn, fully healthy, should not even bat an eye. It shouldn't even be a thing.
Okay, and notice you didn't pick Utah, so and I wouldn't
either.
I just wouldn't. I just can't do it. I mean, I can't pick Utah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Denver, no. Utah, no. Phoenix, they're not getting there again. No. No, they had their chance. They blew it. So I think the Lakers. I will say this about Phoenix though. I think it's going to be one. I think when it's all said and done, it's going to be one of those three guys: Phoenix, LA, Golden State.
So the Andrew Wiggins thing gets resolved somehow. We're going to State.
He's going to play. He's going to get the vaccine. I was like, dude, what?
And then last thing, as I try to ask you, how can folks find you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Kelly Eco NBA. That's KELLYIKO NBA. You can subscribe to The Athletic. You can shoot me an email. Whatever you got a question on, let's talk about it. So I'm always around.
As this is proof of right here. Thanks, my man. Thank you for taking time to talk to me. I'll see you on 27.
Sir.